All right, welcome back to the In the Box playoff pregame show. I'm Alex Baumgartner, joined by David Eversole of the Five Reasons Sports Network, and we're here to talk to you about Game 1 between the Panthers versus the Tampa Bay Lightning. Battle of Florida Part 2. How you doing, David?
Good, man. I'm pumped up for this game. I can't believe they scheduled the same night as the Heat, but you know what? Let's ride. At least it's an early start, so I'm excited, man.
Yeah, and there's Jamie Goldman as well from the Five Reasons Sports Network. But yeah, 6 of the 7 possible Panthers playoff games directly fall into the same day that the Miami Heat play. All the home games are also the same day that the Heat have their home games. Per reports, the Panthers did want to have alternating days, and then Ethan tweeted out at the Five Reasons Sports Network Twitter that the Heat also would have liked alternate days to support the Panthers. But the way it works is for the second round, ESPN, who has the main broadcasting rights, gets to choose which series that they want. So they chose the New York series, and there's no surprise that ESPN took the New York series. So Panthers have the TNT games for most of the 1 through 4. I think there's only one game on ESPN. ESPN has the Heat games on tonight. So Panthers get the short end of the stick. They're also the only team with a back-to-back in this postseason for the second round. And it's kind of crazy. I mean, there's a concert in Tampa, but the Tampa Bay Lightning have 2 straight Stanley Cups, and they have a concert in the middle of a playoff run. So that's a lot going on right there.
Yeah, you know what I'm kind of concerned about tonight, obviously, is the energy and everything in this first game for the Panthers. Tampa has been kind of their nemesis these last couple of years, obviously, and with the success of the Lightning, these two franchises have kind of gone in opposite directions in terms of postseason success. So this is a big game one for the Panthers at home. I mean, they really got to set the tone early. You can't go into a shell against Tampa. You've seen Bobrovsky hasn't been at his best against a team like Tampa Bay. I think he's given about 4 goals per game in the 2 matchups, and they give up a lot more shots. He was averaging about 34 saves a game versus the Lightning. So I think we're going to see a lot more open ice in this series, and the Panthers really have to capitalize, especially on the power play. I mean, that's something. If they don't get any power play contributions, I think they're not going to move on in this series.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about the Panthers' nemesis being the Lightning over the last few years. I mean, you kind of have that big brother feeling when thinking about the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers. And I mean, if you're the Florida Panthers, you got to be sick of the Tampa Bay Lightning running the state and running the NHL. I mean, the last 2 years they've had the Stanley Cup, and last season the Panthers gave them a run for their money in that first round series. And building off that series, this season's Panthers team is much better. I don't think the Lightning got much better. They might have even gotten a little bit worse. The Panthers got to enter this series with some confidence. Bobrovsky was a little bit shaky last season, but you looked at him in the first round this season against the Capitals, and he shut the door. So I really think coming out in game one is going to be crucial. I think Bobrovsky is going to be big, and hopefully it'll be a good game one.
Yeah, it's a different Bob this playoff series. He played 3 games last year, lost his job twice, had a 5.33 goal against average against the Lightning, about an 8.841 save percentage. This year in the playoffs, I think it was a 2.69 or something around there, above 900 save percentage. So he's playing a lot better. And a big loss for the Lightning. It's officially announced that Braden Point will not be playing tonight. He was listed as highly doubtful, and after seeing that apparent right leg injury against Toronto in Game 7, it did not look good. He's day-to-day after this game. It wouldn't surprise me if he misses more than Game 1, but that's a big loss for the Lightning just because I think Braden Point was one of the most explosive players in that series last year. Just between his skating ability, his ability to switch into the slot on the power play, the Lightning are definitely going to miss him. However, the Lightning still have Stamkos, and they have Kucherov up on the forward unit. Victor Hedman and Vasilevsky are in the back end. So it's a big loss to not have Braden Point in game one, but it's not like they're a one-man team. Braden Point's probably the 4th or 5th ranked superstar on that team.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot more of a challenge for the Panthers on the blue line in this series. I think Washington, they don't have obviously past Ovechkin and maybe their top line, they don't have the depth of scoring, like you said, that Tampa Bay does. You just come after wave. So you got to look at those second and third defenseman pairing, and those guys got to be solid. They got to make the right plays. And not only on the defensive end, they got to get out of the zone. You can't keep, dumping it, having to, ice the puck, no speed through the neutral zone. I think they really have to establish some kind of pace early on the blue line in terms of just being crisp and getting the puck out and moving forward and letting the forwards kind of move around in space, because Tampa's gonna press you and they're gonna keep the pressure on. So I think Bob's gonna have to stand on his head again in this series. He's gonna have to steal a game, at least with a couple big saves, and we're gonna see some higher scoring games. I feel like in this series, I think that's kind of a no brainer in terms of the offensive production in this series. So I'm excited that the Panthers are definitely the home team. I think that gives them a little bit of an edge. So.
Yeah, definitely a big advantage for the Panthers being the home team in this series. And you mentioned no Braden Point to start this series. That's a huge disadvantage for the Tampa Bay Lightning. He's kind of their firepower, their heart of their team. I mean, you go back to last season's Florida Panthers series versus the Lightning. In game one, Braden Point had 2 goals to get things going in that series. So no Point for the Lightning is going to be huge. But that being said, the Panthers can't go into this and say, oh, they don't have Braden Point, like this is going to be a cakewalk. That's not the case at all. I mean, you're going up against a team that has won back-to-back Stanley Cups. They still have a lot of firepower on that front end. You mentioned guys like Stamkos and Kucherov, but you look down the lineup, they're way more deep than the Capitals are. I mean, you look at guys like Sorelli, you look at guys like Nick Paul, who had a big first-round series. I mean, this Tampa Bay Lightning team is no slouch. The Panthers are going to have to come out strong. They're going to have to play their best game. And like you mentioned, David, goaltending is going to be huge. I mean, Bobrovsky was a bit shaky last season. He was good in the first round this season. It's going to be a true test to see how he performs come in a real series against Tampa Bay Lightning in the second round.
And I think a big key for this Panthers team this year, and they probably learned their lesson, hopefully, is stay out of the box against Tampa. And I know we say this for every series, but game one was lost, and that series might have been lost in game one because of the penalties. 3 of 4 on the power play for the Lightning. It was a 5-4 game. It was a 1-goal game. 3 goals were scored on the power play. They got Tampa back in it. Sam Bennett gets suspended, misses game 2. You lose home ice. You go 0-2 on home ice to start the series. Lightning were 8 for 20 on the power play. And it's funny, the Panthers actually had more power play opportunities. It was 22-20 in that series. So the Panthers actually had more power play opportunities, but the Lightning power play was clicking last season, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's going to start clicking again. The Panthers had the worst power play in the playoffs. They're the only team to not score 1 or 2 goals in that first round, going 0 for 18. So the power play needs to do something, because you're not going to win 2 straight series not scoring a power play goal. That's just not how it works. They're lucky to be able to win that first round series in 6 games with striking out on the power play.
Yeah, you're going to need every goal you can get in this series, I think. And I'm looking at those second and third lines in terms of generating scoring chances, drawing penalties, keeping the pressure on. These teams don't like each other. I think that's no secret. So hopefully it's going to be a little bit chippy. I think that'll benefit the Panthers to kind of give them an edge, because you notice against the Capitals when they're down 3-0, they finally they flip the switch. And I think the Panthers need to have a little bit of kind of animosity and just a little bit of a chip on their shoulder to give them an edge in a really evenly matched series with the Lightning. And the pressure's on the Panthers to deliver. I mean, you won the President's Cup. You come in as the number 1 overall seed. You're positioned better than you ever have been in terms of moving on in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So I want to see the second and third lines get involved, generate some chances, guys like Duclair, and just keep the momentum from Barkov and Huberdeau, and give some other contributions across the board, because they're going to need them all.
Yeah, you mentioned the power play unit and how they went 0 for 18 in the first round, but it's not like this has been a whole season full of no power play success for the Florida Panthers. You look in the regular season, they had the 5th best power play in the NHL. So you kind of sit here and scratch your head and say, what happened in that first round series? I mean, all season long, you kind of have had some ups and downs with the power play. So I fully expect that the power play is going to bounce back, and in this series we'll start to see some power play goals. Because if you don't, then that's going to put you in a world of trouble against a team like Tampa Bay Lightning. I mean, they were able to skate past and get through the first round without scoring a power play goal remarkably, but that can't be something that they make a habit of doing, struggling on the power play. I mean, you talk about Game 5, they finally got a goal with a man advantage late in that one. Didn't count as a power play goal because it was a 6-on-5 with the goalie pulled. But, I mean, I'm sure in the last couple of days in practice, the power play special teams unit has been a focal point. It's a good thing that the Lightning series ended up going 7, where the Panthers ended up going 6. They got a couple days off. They should be well rested. Where Tampa, they just finished up a series in Toronto. They were in Toronto for Game 7. They had to travel. Now they're coming to South Florida. I mean, I think conditioning-wise and being ready for this one, the Panthers should have the edge just because they've had a little bit more time to prepare. But you never know with that kind of thing. So it should be interesting to see how Game 1 and the rest of the series goes.
Yeah, and Lightning have played a lot of hockey the last 3 years, more hockey than any other team in the NHL. That's what happens when you go to 2 straight Stanley Cup finals and win both of them. Yeah, they came out hot last year against Florida in Florida. Florida can't let that happen again. You need to take command. This would be the first time they could win a Game 1 since, what, 97?
It's been, I think so, yeah, after the run. But the thing about the Panthers and the Lightning is it's always going to be a close game in terms of just how the teams match up from line to line. I think the Panthers have some edges maybe in this season that they haven't had in years past, which could give them an advantage. But what I want to see is guys like Ekblad hopefully get back to 100% physically and quarterback that power play unit to a little bit more success, hopefully. And just don't make any mistakes. You can't have the turnovers in the neutral zone, getting out of your own zone. Things like that just can't happen. I think the margin for error is a lot thinner in this series, and they got to be very, very focused. And I'm determined to see what kind of moves that Bruno makes in Game 1 and moving forward in terms of just matching lines and things like that, and just managing his players and based on the situations in the game. So it's going to be an exciting series. I really can't wait for it to get started.
To kind of touch on what you mentioned up there at the end, the adjustments that Brunette made in the first round series, when they went down 2-1, in this very stream, we were kind of talking like, wow, Brunette, maybe he's an average coach with a great team. I heard someone say, but after that, you saw him make the adjustments. He put Sherratt with Ekblad. He took Uyghur off that first line. He jumbled up the forward lines a bit. And you start to see that the Panthers changed their game. And he was able to make those adjustments. So that's a really big kudos to Andrew Brunette in the first round series. And he's going to have to continue to make those adjustments in this series if the Panthers are going to be successful. So I'm really interested to see how Brunette handles this series. Obviously, in the first series, there was no need to switch around the goaltending. Sergei Bobrovsky played fantastic. Hopefully, he'll keep that going. But, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how Brunette handles this series. He's never been to the second round as a head coach.
Yeah, and Brunette was a player. He did have some playoff success as a player, obviously. But as you said, new head coach, hasn't been to a second round. But he is the first coach to take this team to a second round since 96. So that is something to take a look at. And I do like the adjustments he made. And I do like how, as you said, switched up the lines that weren't working, switched up the game plan. They started getting the pucks in deeper. They kind of eliminated that neutral zone gap that Washington was playing for the first couple of games of that series. And then, as we know, the Panthers won 3 straight games and took the series. So those little adjustments changed the Panthers' lifeline in that first round.
Yeah, and I think if they get away from the dumping and chasing and kind of just going through the motions in terms of setting up the offense, 5-on-5, they haven't really struggled. So I feel like that's going to continue. And Tampa's going to leave you a little bit more open ice because they're a bit more aggressive offensively. So they're going to have some chances. They're going to have some odd man rushes that they'll be able to capitalize on. They just can't get too cute, whether it's 2-on-1 in a breakaway situation or on the power play. Just make the plays and go out there and execute. I think it's going to be a real challenge for them to just keep going out there shift after shift and having success, they really have to be sharp for an entire game.
Yeah, you talked about earlier how the Panthers would go down and then like they went down 3-0 to the Capitals and they kind of flipped that switch. That's not something that you can kind of rely on. That's not something that you want to rely on as a hockey team, especially in the playoffs, especially against a team like the Tampa Bay Lightning, who have won back-to-back Stanley Cups, who have been there, who know how to handle that kind of situation a little bit better. They can't find themselves in that holes and just rely on that switch to go off. They kind of need to start the game with that switch going off, start pummeling them, start getting a lot of shots and playing simple and playing smart. And that's going to be a big key in this series.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we should do our predictions like we did last time. Our entire panel did go Panthers in 5. We are 1 game off. I'm going to be a little bit more give a little bit more respect to the opponent. I'm going to take Panthers in 7 this series. Home ice is going to be huge. The Panthers can get 3 of those home games, steal 1 on the road. I think they take this in 7.
Yeah, I was going to go exactly the same way. I think it's going to be a long series, a very exciting series, and I'm gonna take the Panthers in 6. How about that?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with Alex here. I'm going to go Panthers in 7. Tampa's very strong. It's going to be a back and forth series. I don't think this is going to be one where the Panthers are going to walk in and just take care of business real quick. It's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a struggle. There's going to be adversity. But at the end of the day, I think the defending champs are a little bit too tired, a little bit old. I think there's a new sheriff in town. Panthers in 7.
All right, David, let me throw it to you. Tell us about Prize Picks and what we can expect today for the Panthers.
Yeah, one of our great sponsors here at 5 Reasons is obviously Prize Picks Daily Fantasy. And tonight you have the Heat and the Panthers. So a lot to choose from with Prize Picks. You can mix and match up to 5 different players in any entry. Make sure you sign up with promo code 5FIVE. Was looking at some of the totals tonight for the Panthers, and Aaron Ekblad was at 2 shots. I think if he's healthy and rested and close to 100%, he's going to be a lot more involved in the offense. So on Prize Picks, I'm going to take Aaron Ekblad tonight for the Panthers over 2 shots. So that's my prize pick for tonight. Make sure to check that out at prizepicks.com. Use promo code 5FIVE. You'll get a 100% deposit match up to $100.
Yeah, and I mean, last time we did a Prize Picks thing, I said, maybe take a look at Carter Verhaeghe. Then he got 5 points that night. So I don't exactly have the Verhaeghe odds right now, but if I'm a betting man, I'm looking at Carter Verhaeghe for pretty much everything tonight, whether it's shots on goals, points, just everything Carter Verhaeghe against.
He's at 2.5. 2.5 shots on goal for Verhaeghe.
I'll take that. I think he gets some off the rush. I think he hits the 3. 2.5. There's no push, but I still think he'll hit it. I'll take the 3.
Now, how about this, guys? I'm going to ask both of you guys. What do you think about Bob tonight? 27.5 saves. Is he going to go over or under that? He's averaged 34 against Tampa in 2 games during the regular season. 27.5.
That's an interesting number because, you want to say that's going to be an under because you want to say that the Panthers are going to play well defensively and there's not going to be that many shots. But at the same time, you mentioned that it was 34 was the average in the regular season. So I'm going to take the over there, and hopefully Bob will shut the door. I think Tampa gets 30-plus shots.
Yep, and it's tough. I don't think the Panthers' defense is going to completely prevent Tampa from shooting the puck on net. I will take Bob on the over for shots. I think both goalies are going to have a lot of pucks to eat this series. I'll take the over on Bob. But yeah, a battle of 2 very good goaltenders tonight in this series. Some of the best goaltenders in the world when they're on their game. So we got Bobrovsky versus Vasilevsky. We got Panthers versus Lightning. We got the Battle of Florida Part 2. And the comeback cast, they're looking for a little bit of revenge this time in 2022. We're going to wrap this show up, but we'll see you guys back for the post game. I'm going to head to the arena. We got game 1 coming up in just about an hour and 20-ish minutes. We'll see you guys. Make sure you subscribe here to the 5 Reasons Sports YouTube channel. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at 5thline5R. Make sure you check out everyone's Twitters here. We're going to keep you updated this entire playoff series. Until the post game, we'll see you guys soon here on In the Box.